Well, thank you for this opportunity to say something regarding why I choose to serve, to work for CIHS. I think of something beautiful one of our major philanthropic backers said, and that is, he said, because I want to live in a world where it's possible for a place like CIHS to exist. I think that's so beautiful. And a little story about how I connected initially with Dr. Motoyama. I first communicated with Dr. Motoyama in 1994. I had read an article, an interview he had done with a spiritual magazine about his work proving the existence of the subtle bodies of the human being, and generally his approach to the connection of integration of science and spirituality, science and spirit, and the approach he talked about very much resonated with the approach I was developing in a book I was rough drafting at the time. So I wrote him kind of a fan letter. At that time, that was pretty much before emails. And so I wrote it on paper, a real letter. And he invited me to come and meet him in Tokyo at the shrine and research center he had there. And circumstance had it that I was able to do that because 2 years just before then, I'd spent 2 years as a research fellow and exchange scientist at the University of Tokyo, Department of Earth and Planetary Physics. And so I had a kind of a business reason to go back to Japan, and I did. I visited him at his at the Tamamitsu Jinja location and his home on the outskirts of Tokyo, in the beautiful Inokashira Park, Inokashira Koen. And there I first met Mr. Sato, who was a very stern presence from a samurai family. And he, as the kind of gatekeeper at the time for anybody who wanted to meet Dr. Motoyama, was a very interesting meeting. And then I got to meet Dr. Motoyama and just had a wonderful meeting with him. And I asked for some advice about meditation practice, and he very kindly gave me that. And then we talked about our mutual research interest. And then later, after that, I found out that I realized that that's what he really wanted to talk about, because that was what he was interested in at the time. And he invited me back to a month-long stay at his institute in Tokyo on something called he called a Motoyama Bentoff Research Fellowship, named after Yitzhak Bentoff, who was a friend of Dr. Motoyama's and author of the kind of well-known book Stalking the Wild Pendulum. As a physicist, Bentoff was, and he died tragically relatively young in a plane crash. So I thought it was wonderful that he named this fellowship after Bentoff, Motoyama Bentoff Fellowship, because that was a sign of the way Motoyama saw his efforts and his approach to helping humanity with everything he does in the world as part of connected with others doing the same thing. And so I had a wonderful research stay for a month there in Tokyo in 1995, and also privileged to do practice meditation with the Jinja Shrine religious organization group there, as well as doing research in the little research center there, and spending a lot of time discussing and traveling with Dr. Motoyama, which was a very rare privilege at the time. And then at the end of the month, Dr. Motoyama mentioned to me that, by the way, he'd founded a university in California, California Institute for Human Science. It had existed since 1992. I didn't even know that. And he hadn't even mentioned it in the whole month of working together, because that's the way he was. He was really interested in what we were doing, and he did so many things and brought his immense focus and power to what he was doing at the time. So he mentioned that CIHS existed, and then about a year or so later, he invited me out to CHS, and I first came to CHS in 1997 as Dean of Administration at the time. And this research, and so that's the story of my connection with Dr. Motoyama, is our passionate interest in the research into the mind-body problem, the existence of the subtle bodies, the subtle aspects of the human being, and how those interact with the gross physical aspect. And this research, that research focus, was always for the purpose of advancing humanity, as well as, for basic science understanding, but for the purpose of advancing humanity and working toward a peaceful global society, according to what are now the 8 principles from Motoyama that guide and inform CIHS's mission. And that those principles and that focus, and even the type of research that CIHS is interested in, is what makes CIHS a healing place working to heal the rift of a lopsided worldview that's common, that values only the material aspect of reality and has lost connection with the interior aspects, the interior castles within all of us. So that's why I am grateful for the opportunity to work at CIHS, and because connecting with the initial point, because I want to live in a world where it's possible for a place like CIHS to exist. And actually that mission is why it makes CIHS perfectly suited to become, we hope, probably the next 1 or 2 or 3 accredited institutions, accredited universities in the WASC region soon. And that suits this mission, is what suits CIHS perfectly to become poised to be a leader in this new frontier that will be a forefront research and teaching and learning that heals this rift in worldview and advances humanity. So that's why I want to say happy birthday to Dr. Motoyama, who I know you are still there supporting CIHS in the transcendental realms, and encourage philanthropically minded people to support CIHS's mission.